Hello and welcome to episode 43 of The Best Games, period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and with me this week are the lovely, trusty, dependable, wonderful, trusty, great duo of Daniel Jones and Jeremy Brown. And you know what? This week, we have an extra spooky, scary episode for you. In honor of Halloween, we are going to be talking about Dead Space from 2008, multi-platform, third-person survival horror shooter thing. But before that, how are you guys doing? How are you fellas?
Jack, that was very original. Good job. I'm good. I'm extra spooky. No, I'm fine.
Are you extra spoopy?
I don't even know where that comes from. Is that an Undertale thing?
I don't know where it comes from, but I see everyone on the internet saying it, and I just get a real... there's something about it that always makes me smile.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Because it's time to get spoopy.
2 spoopy for you. 3 spoopy, 5
Maybe because it's like poopy.
Yeah.
But with an S.
Maybe it is that simple.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. It comes from something, obviously.
Yeah.
Poop jokes.
Yeah.
Entertaining you since
The beginning
dawn
of time.
Yeah. I'm good. I was gonna make
Okay.
some joke about being like spooky and scary and I don't know. But no, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm good.
So, what have you guys been up to?
Not much. I've been playing. You know what I've been playing? I've been playing a lot of Downwell on the PS4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just like when I have a few minutes here and there, I'll just pop that on.
Is that the one
I got
where
it
you're just
for-
falling down? Started on iOS?
How does it translate to PS... I mean, how well does it play on PS4 compared to iOS?
So much better.
Yeah?
Like, so much better. Because I only had played it on the phone, and it was on sale for, I think it was like $2.
I'm pretty sure that's when I got it, too. Yeah, I like it, but man, the mechanics are a pain in the ass.
On the phone, the controls are really kind of a pain, just because they're like touchscreen directional controls, and it's not very precise. And a lot of times my thumbs would get in the way of where I was needed to see where I was going. Because you're always falling down, and the controls are down on the bottom of the screen, so thumbs would get in the way. But this works great, and it's more precise, and I've been able to get further in it, and it's just man, I admire the heck out of that game, and just how like well designed it is. So I'd highly recommend getting that game. I think it's only $5 on PSN right now. Anyway,
Do you think it's
a
a pretty deep experience? Is it well worth it?
It's not super.
You got him. You got him good.
I don't even know how to respond now because I want to answer your question seriously, but whatever. I'm not going to.
Doesn't mean it wasn't a serious question.
Anyway, what have you been playing, Jeremy? Anything?
Uh,
Or what have you been up to?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go because it's double candy week. Yeah.
It
See,
is.
because you're still playing then, aren't you,
Which,
Jeremy?
honestly, this is the first time they've had, like, an actual event. So that's kind of neat. They should do things like that way more often.
Yeah, they have a new loading screen too,
Yeah.
and more spoops,
Yeah.
spoops for everyone.
Which, the ghost-type Pokemon are really hard to find around here, so that's been a pleasant surprise.
Would you say that this event has turned your town into a ghost town?
I mean, can you turn something into something that it already is?
Fair enough. Touche.
Yeah.
Touche.
We have one blinking stoplight.
Kind of like Lebanon,
Oh, no, Lebanon's way bigger.
but it only has one blinking stoplight.
But doesn't it blink in all 4 directions?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh. Are you... You're counting the directions? There's... Really?
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not going to argue about whose town is less populated.
My town's smaller than yours, all right?
Yeah.
Anyway. What about you, Jack? Have you been investigating any more gas station
ring
chimes?
I have an update on that front.
Oh?
So I was at a Loafin' Jug the other day in Great Falls, and
What is a Loafin' Jug?
did in fact hear the sonic ring. Apparently they're owned by Smith's grocery chain, because I actually asked, and that's as far as I got. But yes, you can add that to your list.
Okay, but you did hear it.
Well, I mean, I haven't played Sonic a ton, but I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put that on the list of observized. That's the word I was going to try and use there. Observized sonic ring noises. Cool. I haven't gotten any updates from Sega, but I
was gonna ask about their system and whatnot, but there were like 6 people behind me in line, and I was like, yeah.
Lame. But now you know where to go. You can ask them next time.
Maybe. Do. Yeah. And maybe next time they should have more people working.
Oh. So, I've mostly been trying to work on playing enough Civilization 6 so that I can write a review on it. As you might imagine, reviewing a Civ game takes a lot of time. Boy, it's taken a long time.
How is it, though?
I'm not sure I like it as much as 5. It's weird because it has a little bit... It attempts to have kind of a more simple aesthetic.
Okay.
But at the same time, complicates a lot of the user interface for no reason, and they're just like little things that would make the game easier to understand, and they just don't do those things.
So you haven't been able to entirely conquer how you feel about it?
No, I haven't even been able to achieve a minor diplomatic victory yet. In my heart.
Indeed. So Dead Space.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of crappy games,
let's talk about Dead Space.
All right, so Dead Space, made by Redwood
Shore.
Wasn't it Visceral?
No, it was Redwood Shore, and it turned into Visceral. Like, literally just changed their name.
But didn't they change their name before Dead Space came out?
Not Dead Space 1, no.
Oh, all right. My bad.
Yep. Redwood created Dead Space for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. At the time, it was heralded as one of the scariest games ever made. Very, very spoopy. Too spoopy, 5me. It stars Isaac... What's his last name? Isaac?
Clarke.
I'm really unprepared for this. Isaac Clarke as a space engineer fixing up a ship inhabited and infested by undead monstrosities, with a mysterious cult in the background and crazy science going on, and all sorts of sci-fi scares in the mix. I don't know. For my money, I think that Dead Space has one of the best openings to a video game ever.
Until Dead Space 2, anyway.
No,
but we're talking about Dead Space.
I didn't like Dead Space 2. I thought it was a worse game.
We should have made this a Versus episode.
Well, it's
Dead
too late
Space
now.
2 is so much better.
I don't disagree, but it's too late now. So let's talk about Dead Space.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Dead Space. No, I agree. The opening to Dead Space 1 is flippin' fantastic. It's a little too passive for my tastes, because for a lot of it, you're just kind of sitting there watching all this stuff unfold. But what made it great was the unknown, because you didn't know, like, can these things just break through that glass and come after me? Are they in the room with me too? So it was genuinely terrifying. But I think what if you don't really know Dead Space and you haven't played it, a good point of reference is classic sci-fi horror films like Alien, The Thing, and even, it's maybe not a classic, but I really like it, Event Horizon.
Yeah, not a classic, but...
It's not a classic, but I like it. Dead Space borrows a lot from Event Horizon. So, like, stuff like that, really gory, really over the top, but also with a little tinge of philosophical musings underpinning all of it. And a bit of H.R. Geiger thrown in to the visual styling, too.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a little. But it was really... I really admire Dead Space 1. And, I mean, it's also... Gameplay-wise, it's influenced by Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
It's a direct descendant of that game, which we have discussed on the show. Go back and listen to that if you haven't.
With our special guest, Eric Scott.
Yep, with special guest. But it added a twist to that formula because Isaac uses a plasma cutter that can shoot vertically or horizontally. And your general goal and the best way to dispatch of the necromorphs, the bad guys, is to cut off their limbs rather than their heads or necessarily their torsos.
Yep.
Which added just enough of a twist to the gameplay to make it feel really fresh at that time.
And I love how the game conveys that to you, because in when you start off the game, you are completely unarmed, and it kind of sets the stage. Basically, Isaac Clarke is part of this small crew that is sent to respond to a distress beacon from the USG Ishimura, which is kind of this massive mining ship. And as they're kind of going to dock with the Ishimura, something goes wrong with the guidance system, and instead it crashes into the Ishimura. And the crew gets out, and they're trying to figure out what's happening on this mining ship, because I think everyone survives the initial crash, and they're walking around inside the Ishimura, and all of a sudden these necromorphs, these undead creatures, start attacking them, and you're completely unarmed. And so for the first 15-ish minutes of the game, you're kind of running and being chased by these creatures that are coming at you, trying to break into your elevator. And like Daniel said, it's all very much unknown. You don't know if they can get in. You don't know what really your limitations are or what you can do, if anything, to defend yourself. And the very first kind of safe area you come across has the plasma cutter in it, and it also has a dead body there, and just scrawled on the wall in kind of blood is just cut off their limbs.
Yeah. And there's an audio message, too.
That makes it more clear that you should not just shoot them in the head, because that will get you nowhere.
It's kind of on the nose, but it does the job.
Yeah, it works. And you know what? It's the plasma cutter and shooting off the limbs is easily one of the freshest things that Dead Space does.
Yeah.
I think it's just a very simple change from just shoot zombies in the head to kill them to shoot off their arms and legs. But it's enough to make it really, really feel like something different.
Well, and it also makes sense in the context of the story, because Isaac is an engineer. He doesn't carry weapons. So,
right.
And there's all these weird different modified versions of contemporary tools, because the year is 2508, and of course technology is advanced, and he uses them to do what he needs to do. Plasma cutter is just one of many things that you can pick up along the way, and they all have the vertical or horizontal mode. So
yeah. Or like some kind of alternate fire.
Yeah.
I think there's only actually one weapon that you get that's an actual military weapon, the pulse rifle.
And I don't think you get that until the Valor crashes into the Ishimura, which is full of soldiers and necromorphs, soldiers that have become necromorphs, and then you get the plasma rifle, which is a full auto, basically, rifle.
it really kind of, I hated using that thing.
It had its moments,
Because
but yeah.
It loses precision.
Yeah.
You know?
But the one good thing about it was it stacked ammo in inventory management was a big deal in this game.
Yeah.
And it could stack up to 100 per slot, where, like, say, the line gun could only stack up to, like, 6. So, right. I mean, you kind of had to choose which weapons you would carry, because you could only take 4 at a time. You could only have 4 in your inventory. And you had to, I mean, kind of Resident Evil-ish in that way, where you had to really manage your inventory to be able to make sure you had enough to endure and survive.
Yeah, and also, I think a lot of people forget about the stasis module and how important that was too, because early on in the game you gain the ability to kind of selectively slow time for an object or creature, and that becomes really helpful as you progress through the game, and just slowing down these monsters so you can actually dismember them accurately.
Also telekinesis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the kinetic, where you could pick up things in the environment and use them as projectiles.
Yeah.
Like the necromorphs that had that bomb hand, whatever you want to call it, you know, you could shoot off their limbs and kill them, and you could pick that up and throw it at the next horde of them and wipe a bunch out. And personally, I played this game a ton. And I played it on the hardest setting, and once you got to that setting, that kind of stuff became vital, because there was not much ammo.
The comparison I make in my head is always to Resident Evil 4, because this was right on the cusp of Resident Evil 5 coming out. Came out about a year after this, maybe even just like 6 months after this game.
Yeah.
And then that was also just a little bit before Amnesia: The Dark Descent came out, which kind of changed how horror worked as a genre. So in my mind, Dead Space is kind of like the refined version of Resident Evil 4. Because Resident Evil 4 never scared me. It never frightened me. It felt more like a horror-themed arcade game, which it's fine. For what that is, I enjoy it a lot. But Dead Space actually succeeded in freaking me out, and maybe that's because of how I played it. Because when I first played this game, I, for whatever reason, was playing in a cold, dark basement. I played it in the pitch dark because I wanted to be freaked out, and I was just sitting on like a metal stool in the middle of this dark room, and it was really freaky. But
yeah, same. It scared the crap out of me. I mean, initially.
Yeah. Eventually, you kind of start to learn its tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start out the game, there are so many unknowns. You don't know what the necromorphs can do or how they're going to go about doing it. By the end of the game, you can kind of walk into a room and tell, oh, crap, these are all the areas that they could come from.
Yeah, I think that's by design, and I think that's by good design.
Yeah. But when you're just starting out, random tentacles can come out of vents and grab you. A lot of the necromorphs themselves can climb through vents and come out. That's typically where the developers hid the spawn points. And it's all just very well laid out, very carefully planned. I think maybe one thing that works against it, just in terms of going back to Dead Space, is that it relies a lot on jump scares, which, once you know that they're coming, they kind of lose a lot of their power.
But I think by the time you realize they're coming, you have more assets at your disposal, and it becomes more about the gameplay and how you decide to advance at that point.
Yeah, it then kind of goes from being a straight up horror game to being more of an action shooter.
Yeah.
Which I find very satisfying. I think Dead Space gameplay wise is an incredibly satisfying experience. In terms of like cathartic violence, I don't get a whole lot out of military first-person shooters, but I get a lot of satisfaction when I play Dead Space. I don't know why that is, but just throwing that out there.
Well, I mean, it could be because it's third person, but yeah, I don't really like military shooters. Really. A lot. I think just I don't know, the concept of it being something different and something that I haven't seen on the History Channel makes it more exciting and enthralling to me. I really like Dead Space. I think
you're a psychopath.
What? Well, that could be, but that doesn't change the point.
I'm just joking.
No, I really, really, really like Dead Space a lot. I do.
Well, also, I'm pretty sure we're getting to the point where you could see something about Dead Space on the History Channel.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting closer every single day, that's for sure. So, I mean, does somebody want to summarize the story of Dead Space, or are we going to skip that?
I'll take a shot at it.
Jack, you can try, yeah.
Because I actually really... I think the heart of the story of Dead Space, there's a lot of deep lore stuff you can actually get into, which is surprising.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there is. There's comics, there's movies, there's tons of other stuff. But yeah.
Two sequels as well.
But I mean, 2 direct sequels and 2 other...
Right.
3 other, actually.
Were there that many spin-offs?
Yeah.
Jeez. But I think at the heart of the story of Dead Space 1, anyway, it's actually like a really just simple, touching love story, because the kind of the big motivation for Isaac Clarke is that his girlfriend was stationed aboard the Ishimura as a medic. And so he's more personally invested in this adventure than his companions, who managed to survive the initial monster outbreak that murders most of the crew. I believe 2 other people survive. The commander of the ship and Kendra.
Well, I mean, there's only 5 people on this huge ship, which is kind of insane to begin with.
Well, I loved the marketing for this game. Just real quick aside, I loved the marketing for this game where it showed a counter of the population of the Ishimura, and it just starts slowly ticking down until it gets to 1, and then it shows Isaac walking around these dark hallways, and then the monster attacks, and that was the commercial. It was perfect.
But finish your story summary.
Oh, so Isaac is, while he's trying to survive and get the other 2 members of the repair crew off the ship alive, he's also keeping an eye out for his girlfriend, Nicole, who messaged him shortly before communication went dark on the Ishimura. And basically, one of the kind of neat things about Dead Space is Isaac Clarke is a mechanic, and he does mechanic things.
He's an engineer.
Oh, he's a space engineer. But essentially his 2 comrades are just like, hey, you need to go fix that thing, otherwise we're going to die. And so it's just kind of a series of Isaac going to different parts of the ship to fix a thing so that everyone doesn't die.
But every time,
sort of an errand boy for a little bit.
Every time they tell him that, they throw in the Nicole situation, like, you do that and we'll get you to Nicole. And you don't know that both of those other people have ulterior motives. They're both there for different reasons other than to just restore the communications and find out what happened to the Ishimura. I mean... Yeah,
it's
one of them is a, freakish religious zealot, and the other one is like a government lackey. So...
Well, so the freakish religious zealot is the only survivor from the Ishimura, and he's kind of this mad professor who's obsessed with this fictional religion called unitology that exists within Dead Space. And then there's also the commander of your rescue ship.
He's a unitologist as well.
Is he?
Yeah, he's... I mean, yes, you do meet that guy on the Ishimura, but his mission is to bring back the marker to the church. And the girl's mission, I forget their names, her mission is to bring the marker back to Titan because she's a government employee, and they're the ones that started this whole mess, and she thinks that'll fix it.
Are you sure you're not thinking of the commander of the Ishimura? Because I know he was
I'm not sure of anything, Jack.
Okay. Because how I understood it was, like, the only genuine, like, good guy aside from Isaac in this whole thing was the commander, who was just, like, trying to get them off the ship. And he dies. I think the commander of the initial repair ship, I think he was a genuine good guy. And the commander of the Ishimura was the crazy unitologist who, like, got this entire series of events started.
Okay, it's possible I had those mixed up. My bad.
And then there was the crazy unitologist who was like, we need to make everyone necromorphs. And then there was the government agent Kendra.
Yeah.
And then there's Nicole, who you see throughout the entire game, and eventually it's revealed that she is basically hallucinations created by this marker that the mining ship picked up off the planet it's in the process of orbiting. And this marker was created by the space government as they reverse engineered it from a marker that they found on Earth, and then they were testing it out on this planet to see what would happen.
Why? That always confused me. Why would you find a marker on Earth, reverse engineer it, and then take it to another planet to see what happened? Like, if it was already on Earth, you knew. Yeah.
Yeah, was that ever explained in the sequels?
I don't... I mean, it kind of was, because it wasn't authentic, so it didn't do the same thing. And, I'm still not 100% on that.
So, like, there's a lot of really confusing stuff about the lore in Dead Space, but I think the only thing there are just some really simple facts that you need to understand, and it's that there are a couple of people who, for different reasons, want to get their hands on this marker that is on the Ishimura, and it turns out the marker also has its own agenda, and is in some way linked with this alien hive mind that exists on the planet. So, after this whole series of events, there involves trying to fix the Ishimura, trying to fix an escape vessel, only to have that be flown off by the government agent, and an earlier jettisoned escape pod was picked up by a military vessel that was sent to destroy the Ishimura, but ends up getting infected by necromorphs, then crashes into the Ishimura. Isaac decides to take the marker back down to the planet so that it can contain this hive mind that's controlling all these necromorphs.
And the marker is what causes the necromorphs. It causes dementia and just mutation and craziness.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of unclear if the marker is causing it or if there's something else that the marker is preventing that happened to be unleashed when they took it off the planet and then later infected the ship.
Oh, I've always been under the impression it was the marker that was causing it.
Well, because then at the end of the game, the climax is that Kendra comes back to try and steal the marker in a last-ditch effort, and in the process unleashes the hive mind that's been dormant on the planet, and the hive mind comes up and Isaac fights it and manages to defeat it before leaving the marker on the planet and flying off into space. And so I guess I was under the impression that the marker was... The hive mind was created by the government, and the marker was kind of keeping it docile and dormant. And the only reason I know this part is because I read the Wikipedia of the game, but that's actually where the name Dead Space comes from.
It's the space surrounding the marker, because that keeps the necromorphs or whatever dormant.
I didn't know that until I read the Wikipedia. I was like, oh, that's where they got that name. Okay. Well, it's not where they got the name, but that's what it means in
Yes.
the game universe.
We knew what you meant. But yeah.
Yeah. And so... And I'm not sure what that means for Earth. Like, the game leaves a lot of open-ended questions. But the only really important things we need to know is that Isaac is forever scarred by his experience dealing with these undead monsters, and that his girlfriend, Nicole, killed herself. Yeah. And that's kind of where the game ends. It ends on a really dark note. He's just floating in space, and a vision of his girlfriend attacks him.
Yeah, so
that's the end.
Isaac must be somewhat, I don't know, because from the moment he gets there, he starts seeing Nicole and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the closer you get to the actual marker is when you become dormant?
Or... Well, so I think the marker was to some degree sentient because it was communicating with him through his visions of Nicole. Yeah. And I think the marker was slightly sentient, and the hive mind was also sentient, and that was what was controlling the necromorphs, but it needed to be on the planet. The marker needed to be on the planet's surface in order to stop the necromorphs.
Okay. I think you're right.
Okay.
Wow. I never
that was the journey
for that to get that in depth.
Wait, can I throw a curveball at you guys though?
Sure.
Sure.
I don't remember exactly what it's called, but in Dead Space 3, the final boss is an entire planet.
Did you play Dead Space 3?
I finished it.
Huh.
Wow. You're one of like 12 people.
And so I think it's tied to the markers. And it's whatever causes... I think it's the, quote, hive mind or whatever. It's an organism. And there is a great line in Dead Space 3 where I think it's Isaac saying to Ellie in Dead Space 3. I think it's Ellie.
Yeah.
And he's saying, the planet. It's the planet. The planet is alive.
As I like to call her, one-eyed Ellie. But yeah.
So, I don't know.
Is Dead Space 3 essentially the happening of the Dead Space series?
I actually really enjoyed Dead Space 3.
No, it's not. It's not a bad game. I never finished it, but
I finished it.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I played that sucker all the way through.
Happy for you.
Yep.
So yeah, getting back to Dead Space, Jack, you did a pretty good job with me interrupting of describing the story.
No, it's okay. That had to be a team effort because I'm not going to pretend like I was an expert on that game's story. The only things that were really important to me were the marker's important for some reason, and this lady friend that has been the main motivational game was actually dead the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, the marker comes up way more in Dead Space 2, and you learn a lot more about that, so... yeah.
I like that you don't know a lot about it, though.
Yeah, it's mysterious. I
like, if you're not listening to all the audio logs, it's very...
Who doesn't do that?
Yeah. But like you said, it's very mysterious, and there's a whole lot of... alien... There's a lot of alien going on in Dead Space.
Where... You know what else I think there's a lot of going on in Dead Space? Did either of you get the feel of rapture? Except in space? Playing Dead Space?
I think they were trying to maybe go for that, but they didn't really go for it until the second one.
I did at times, but not ultimately. But yeah, I really felt it was Bioshock-esque in a lot of ways. Like, you know, you didn't have plasmids and whatnot, but you had the kinetic thing that you could do. And different parts of the Ishimura resembled, to me, different parts of Rapture, like the gardens and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. And they both scared me, so that's really what the important thing is.
I do have to say, I love the way the Ishimura is designed and looks and feels. Like, it feels like it's an actual spaceship, and it has like this sense of claustrophobia and compactness that really kind of makes you feel more scared of the stuff that's crawling through the air ducts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the sound, we haven't even mentioned really the sound
The
design
sound
yet,
and the lighting.
but holy
yeah.
crap. I
Yeah.
don't think there are many games you could say use sound as well as Dead Space does.
I mean, Isaac Clarke, when he spoke, that was that was some good work.
Well, I mean, even in terms of like as a silent protagonist, Isaac Clarke is, if you're going to have a silent protagonist, give him a character, and at the very least, Isaac Clarke has character. He has a motivation. You can see him emote sometimes in the way he walks around, or in some animations he does they're all very subtle. But
Yeah.
he's his own character. He's just making his way through this terrible situation while under the control of the player. Or is he under control of the marker?
Who knows?
So is that why he gets a pass for you as a silent protagonist, Jack? We have to have this discussion every time we talk about a game.
I think he has his own character. Isaac Clarke is not just a vessel for the player. Like, he has his own stuff going on.
So do you think it would have been better if they'd left him as a silent protagonist for the second and third games?
I don't think that could have worked for his character arc.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in terms of, like, Dead Space 1, all he has to really do is
Follow
walk
orders.
around. Yeah, follow orders and deal with these unspeakable horrors and scream at them while he fights them.
I think third-person silent protagonists work better than first-person silent protagonists, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because you can see the emotion and you can see the movement and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all just haven't played Half-Life 2 enough. Another thing that's really, really admirable about Dead Space is the way that it handles the HUD, the heads-up display.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
There is none, basically. Everything, all the information you need to know is displayed in-game. Isaac basically has his own HUD. He can pull up his inventory, and it pulls up right in front of him on a little projection thing. He pulls up, calls from other people to talk to them, and their face projects right in front of him. But his health is shown on his back in the little light bars. And the ammo, if you just hold his gun up, ready to aim, it shows how much ammo you have. It's really smartly designed.
His stasis also shows up on his back.
Yeah,
Level of
that's
that.
true.
Yes, his stasis
when I pre-ordered, or when I bought the Dead Space 2 Collector's Edition, I actually got a backpack that looks like Isaac Clarke's back with the health bar and all that. Yeah, no, it's pretty rad. I use it a lot.
But you were talking about how good that game looks. I think it still holds up. I was watching footage of it today to prepare for this, and that game still looks really nice.
Which is impressive because it was originally in development for the original Xbox.
Well, and it's 8 years old. How weird.
Yeah.
That's a long time. It still looks really nice.
One thing I didn't like about the HUD, if you can call it part of the HUD, I didn't like the objective thing where you could just... Yeah. What you have to do, press down on one of the sticks and it would point to...
You didn't like that?
Sure, you can turn that off, though, can't you?
You can't. Even on the highest difficulty, it's still there.
And just not use it.
I mean, that's easy to say.
True.
But when you know it's there, you know it's there.
I mean, it's super useful.
It is super useful, and I think it would have been cool to, have it there for a little while, but then I don't know.
Well, that was the thing to do at that time in games. BioShock did the same thing with, a little arrow that popped up and pointed your way.
The way it just changed the camera, though, because it's not like the game stopped. There were times where you would do that, and the camera would shift, and you would look at your objective, and suddenly a necromorph would attack you from the side, and you're like, what the hell? Which was true for any of the HUD. The game never, ever paused.
That's true. I loved that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, even when you manage your inventory, you couldn't spend 10 minutes in there because you were going to die. You had to make decisions quick, rapidly, and fast.
Yep.
Which I guess are 3 words for the same thing, but...
I don't know. I feel like complaining that there was an objective line.
It's not really a complaint. It's just something I wish I could have turned off, especially at the higher difficulties. Because I didn't play the highest difficulty the first time. Just by that time, I kind of knew what I was doing, where I was going. But I still used it, and I can't explain why, but I did.
I just think... I think a lot of people... And not saying that you're one of these people, Jeremy. I just think that a lot of people who complained about that at the time were complaining about it because they wanted Dead Space to be a different kind of game.
Well, it could only it is a horror game, and it did scare the crap out of me. But like you said, Jack, after you get through that first initial couple hours, that kind of wears off. And I think maybe some of those people thought that took away from the horror concept because you knew where you were going. But as that wore off, the gameplay elements, showed more up here. One thing about this game, you got to choose from your array of weapons really early. Like, it didn't make you wait till the end to get the best gun, for the most part.
Yeah.
You got to pick them early, but then you also had to choose what to spend your... what were they called?
Upgrade points.
Power modules, power nodes on.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, to decide what best fit for your gameplay style. And I remember when I was going for the Platinum Trophy, you had to beat the entire game using only, was it the line gun or the plasma cutter? One or the other.
Probably the plasma cutter.
On like the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
And man, that was intense. But it was so much fun.
I like that it managed to make every weapon feel both unique and also a viable option. Like if you upgraded any of those weapons, you could use them to fight through the game. Limited only really by the amount of ammo you could find.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some people wanted this to be more of an open world experience.
Oh, it's totally a corridor shooter. I mean, they disguise that at times with the zero gravity areas, which I think were awesome, personally.
Oh,
like the playing basketball in the middle of all this. That's great. I would rather play basketball in the middle of a zero gravity Dead Space situation than, with my friends at a picnic table on a couple of, tablet things.
Who wouldn't want to do that, though?
Jan.
Dang, Jan.
Can I just say on the show
Yep.
how bothered I am that somebody made a meme out of a joke that I made hours before they posted that meme?
Happens to me all the time. Deal with it.
And now Polygon is writing articles about this meme and how great it is. Polygon, really? You're writing articles about a meme? Come on.
What meme are you talking about, Daniel?
The meme about Karen, her name's Jan, not Karen, going to the party, and they're all
girl.
like, "We're drinking, Karen. Why did you bring your Nintendo, Karen?" And I had already made that joke. I made that joke on Twitter. I made that joke on Facebook.
You did?
But I didn't make it on Tumblr. I didn't make it on Reddit, so nobody else saw it.
Well,
stupid social media.
From the Nintendo Switch commercial, right?
That's the way it goes, Daniel. It's happened to me a few times.
Infuriating.
Right?
It has happened to you. I remember it's happened to you. Alright, so, Dead Space. How do I feel about Dead Space?
Great.
Any final thoughts? Any other things that we feel like we didn't cover?
Well, I think, I don't know that we talked about the gameplay enough. I mean, maybe we did. Maybe there's not much to it, but
yeah.
It's just, it's refreshing, in my opinion. And Jack
touched
on this earlier, that you're not just in some unknown war going out and killing things. Like, it's awesome that Isaac, the only reason he's there, apart from he's an engineer and was assigned to it, is because of his girlfriend. That's what motivates him. Like, anybody else would have just, like, ran or killed themselves. But he keeps thinking he can find Nicole. So this engineer, uses these tools and turns them into weapons, and somehow goes through and does all these things, which is amazing. In the meantime, finds time to shoot holographic targets and play basketball. So that's pretty neat.
I do think I do think, wow, brain fart.
Hey Jack, do you think?
I do think.
And I really do think, isn't it ironic?
It's like rain.
Stop it. We don't need to go through this again. We've already been there.
Jack still doesn't know that song.
It's on my YouTube video.
Sorry, Jack. What do you think?
In terms of third-person survival horror, you don't get much better than Dead Space. I think it's really one of those games that took what Resident Evil 4 did and did it better. And did it in a scarier way, in a way that people hadn't seen before. And really took the idea of, well, what if we did an alien action game and just follows through on that core concept. I think it's a lot like Alien in that if you watch the original Alien, it's a relatively simple story. Of course, going back to it now, you can get into very, very deep lore related to Alien and the Alien universe. But when you watched it back when it came out, it's a pretty simple story about a monster loose on a ship full of blue-collar space workers. And that's essentially what Isaac is in this game. He's just a mechanic. He's a space engineer. And his job is to fix things. He's not a soldier. He's just a guy. And he comes to the ship, and all of a sudden he gets involved with giant monsters and giant government organizations and shadowy cults that, he doesn't necessarily know or care about. He's just there trying to not die and protect what's dear to him. And I feel like a lot of people can identify with just being a guy and there being these larger conflicts around him. And granted, it's not like the most progressive, mind-blowing story of all time. People would say Ripley is an iconic character. I don't know that necessarily Isaac Clarke is an iconic character by himself. But people know that his design is iconic.
People say Ripley's an iconic character?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I believe that or not.
Gonna have to have a best movie period.
Oh, you didn't get that joke, Daniel. I'm so sorry. Jack, did you at least?
I did. It took me a second.
Why did I not get? What did I not get? What did I miss?
It's like the milk joke from last time.
Oh, for Christ's sake. What did I miss?
Ripley, believe it or not.
Oh. No, I'm not. My brain was not anywhere near that. Whatever.
So I think that it does a lot of things that really we haven't seen in the horror genre before. No one really attempted that kind of horror again ever, really. I mean outside of the Dead Space games, which kind of turned more into action schlock as they went on.
Yeah, there was Alien Isolation, but that's just an Alien game.
Yeah, it didn't have really any combat as far as I know. You're mostly trying to get away from the alien.
Right. And same with like Soma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Candy Crush.
Trying to get away from the monster that is capitalism.
It's a never-ending battle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really interesting and unique things to Dead Space in particular that are kind of lost in the sequels, but are just kind of pure and simple and ring true, even if there's a lot of extraneous plot stuff that obviously when we tried to explain it sounded very confusing.
Yeah. I mean, really, at the end of the day, dude's trying to get his girl. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, trying to get his girl and not die to monsters.
It happens to be in the middle of some weird shit that he cares less about.
Yeah. And so I think in that sense it has a lot more in common with classic monster movies and is really great if you just take it on that level.
I think it's a shame that Dead Space's legacy hasn't been as impactful as Amnesia's, because I personally would like to have, like, I enjoy games like Dead Space more than I enjoy games like Amnesia.
Is it because Amnesia scares you more?
It does, yes. But also, there's, like, I have a really difficult time actually playing those games because I just can't progress. Like, I can't just keep throwing myself towards the terror. Whereas in Dead Space, I at least have some sort of defense.
You played Amnesia?
I haven't played Amnesia, but I've played, like, Soma and Outlast.
Slender Man.
And friggin' Slender Man.
Jack, did you play Amnesia?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that.
I got that one. I got one. I'm the only one proud of myself.
So, we're all beating around the bush here. Best games period? Yes, no, maybe? I don't know. Can you repeat the question?
I think Dead Space is one of the best games period. I think it has a lot of problems. Not a lot of problems, but like some intelligibility issues. But at the end of the day, I think it has a lot of really interesting monsters and cool weapons, and it's a blast to play. The sound design is the best you can find in almost any video game ever. And on top of that, it has one of the best introductions to a game. Probably the best opening 30 minutes to any game that's ever been made.
It's like an amazing cold opening. So, obviously, this isn't a versus episode, but best Dead Space game, yes?
I would say definitely. I did not like Dead Space 2.
Okay. Daniel, what say you?
I'm going back and forth.
I mean, pick.
No.
Really?
There was some Dead Space there.
There was some Dead Space.
Would you like to reconsider?
Here's I'm just gonna throw this out there. For as much ridiculousness as there is in the Dead Space story, I think it's actually much less ridiculousness than in any of the Resident Evil stories.
No, for sure. Like, it seems plausible in the year 2508.
I'm not disputing that, but just the story in Dead Space 1 was, you guys read and way more and got way more out of it than I did. Like, personally, I mean, just Isaac was just a blank slate engineer dude, errand boy.
Oh, how can you say that?
Because that's what he was.
I mean, he was an errand boy, but that's because he's literally a blue collar space worker.
That's what made it great.
And
yeah,
honestly,
but all of his characterization is just in his freaking character bio.
Whoa. Calm down. Eat a Snickers.
I'm getting passionate and getting fired up because I didn't speak up earlier in the show and I just held it in and I need to say it.
You know what, Daniel? But I have to say that I think one of the most touching moments in that game is at the end as he's watching the planet explode and he's sad and you see him shake his head and put his face down into his hand. I think that's a perfect example of how the game manages to characterize Isaac Clarke without giving him boring, pretentious monologues or banal dialogue with people who are just telling him to fix stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't need the anal dialogue. He's fine as he is.
I just felt like in 2, they characterized him in more interesting ways. I thought his inner mental struggle was really fascinating. I also thought the opening of Dead Space 2 was way better.
Oh,
because you're out there with these necromorphs, and they're chasing you, and they're right there, and they're running at you. It was so intense. The most intense opening to a video game I have ever played.
But
the action and the action sequences, it is my turn to talk. I have the conch. Thank you very much.
I done shut up already well before you said that.
The action sequences, this isn't a versus episode, but if I'm going to give a best games period to any game in that series, I'm going to give it to Dead Space 2. I know that Dead Space 1 was the innovator. Of course, it set the standards, but Dead Space 2 made it so much better in every way, in my opinion. I know it was less scary, but as a pansy pants anyway, it was still really scary to me. So I personally will pick Dead Space 2. I really like Dead Space 1, don't get me wrong, but Dead Space 2, it would be my pick. So no, Dead Space 1 is not a best games period.
So to be clear, you're a pansy pants.
I am a pansy pants.
Okay. So, yes,
and,
no?
And Dead Space managed to prove that to you. Seems to me like that would make it a best horror game period.
It's a great game.
Wait. Best horror game period or best game period? What's our criteria here?
Yeah, there's a difference. It's a great game, but it's not a best game period.
I think if you're one of the best horror games period, then you have to be a best game period.
No.
Maybe. Okay, well, cool.
What about you, Jeremy?
Oh, I have to pick.
Yeah.
Thought you'd make it through without having to.
I'm actually really torn on this one. I love Dead Space. I love it so much. And I actually like Dead Space a lot as well.
You should play 3, because it's still great. Oh, yeah,
I did. Well, I didn't finish it. I mean, I feel like if I say yes, I'm just going to go against a lot of the things I've said in the past when I've said no on certain games. But that's why I love this show, because it's an individual show every single week, and that's just kind of how it works. I do think it's the best games period for me personally, and I think if you start an Origin account, you get this game for free. I'm pretty sure, it's just there, right?
Well, I think they do kind of what PS Plus does, and they have a shifting rotation of what is free.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you get it for free anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it can't be that expensive.
But yeah, I got it for free too.
This is supposed to be a 12-hour game. I spent at least 100 hours in this game. Through various playthroughs, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Found everything, did everything, read every text log, listened to every audio log, watched every video log. And yeah, I mean, Isaac to me is just this everyday dude, and I can relate to that, which I can do in several other games as well, but I don't often get to do that on a frickin' space Goliath machine thing that's cracking planets for minerals.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it strikes that sweet spot that Alien hit, where it's just normal people, but hundreds of years in the future, working blue collar space jobs.
Yeah,
and there's something really special about that. It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Other films have tried.
I think that the gameplay elements varied quite a bit between the combat and also just, you had a chance to sit in the front of the ship and use a gun to shoot asteroids and other things, and you got a chance to play basketball. I know I've mentioned that 3 times now. And
I will say that shooting those asteroids, if there's one blemish on Dead Space, that's the big one for me.
It was stupid,
like
but you still got to do it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
broke
like a
things up.
main. It was a short, very part of the game, but it was there, so it was kind of neat.
It was short. That's why I didn't complain about
If
it.
you put up the difficulty though, that part got so hard.
Yes, it
I
did.
can imagine.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, like, the puzzles weren't really that puzzle-ish, like in the zero gravity sections, but it was fun. Like, it was fun, like, being all disoriented and having to, just fly through space and land on whatever structure you could find, and then, trying to find your way out. Like, the one especially that it was kind of, looked like grates and flesh. I mean, that was kind of challenging to get out of. You couldn't really tell where the wall ended and where the flesh began. So, I mean, that was neat, unique.
Gross.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Those are and it honestly scared the crap out of me for the first probably hour and a half of that game. I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Which probably isn't a good thing, but it was a great thing. So, yes.
Best game period.
Best game period.
Woo!
It was a very visceral experience.
True that.
No, you mean it was a very Redwood experience.
I've had Redwood experiences. No, this was visceral.
All right. So that was episode 43, the special spooky Halloween episode of the Best Games period. Hope you all have a great Halloween. If you're listening to this after Halloween, I hope you don't eat too much candy and get a sick tummy. Jack.
Daniel.
Jeremy.
Jack.
Jeremy.
Listeners, thank you.
Rumpelstiltskin?
Thank you all for joining me tonight on this special spoopy edition of the Best Games period. Jack, please tell all the fine folks about Extra Life because it is coming up this weekend.
Is it this week? Well, when they're listening to it,
this
they'll be this
airs.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hello, fine listeners. This weekend, on November 5th, Extra Life will be putting on their yearly video game marathon to raise money for sick and injured kids in Children's Miracle Network hospitals all across the United States and Canada. You might be wondering, what's exactly a video game marathon? Well, it's like running an actual marathon, except instead of running, you're just playing video games for a long period of time. And all across the United States and Canada on November 5th, people will be sitting down and playing games, and they could be board games, they could be video games, they could be pen and paper RPG games, they could
hide and seek,
even be going outside to play some Pokemon Go, or playing some hide and seek, or playing soccer or something. But whatever
Soccer is not a game or a sport, Jack. Get real.
They're going to be getting together and bonding over games and raising money and support from their friends, family, or strangers to support these kids. Essentially, everyone who signs up, and you can sign up by going over to extra-life.org, everyone who signs up can choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital they're going to be supporting, and 100% of all the money they raise goes directly to that hospital to pay for sick and injured kids to get the treatment that they need. Honestly, it's a wonderful cause. You know exactly where it's going. You know all your money is going there. None of it's being skimmed off the top for the organization or anything like that. And not only that, you get a bunch of cool little bonuses, like maybe some games or some codes or something for raising like $10 to $25. A lot of neat little goodies there for just signing up and raising a few dollars. If you want to know more, you can head over to extra-life.org, and you can find a nice little frequently asked questions page. If you decide you want to sign up, you can do that too. You can even start a team if you want, or join an existing team to kind of get some community support. And speaking of the community, you can head over to community.extra-life.org to find out more about the community side of things. You can also find this show there. You can find different local people who might be participating in Extra Life if you want to kind of branch out, meet some new people, and you can even find some interesting articles about video game stuff. So just check that out. If you can't participate for whatever reason, it's very loosey-goosey. You can participate on November 6th, November 4th, whatever time fits into your schedule, or you can break it up. It's all up to you. And really, if you can't do that, just throw a couple bucks towards a friend, family member, or even just a stranger who might be participating and playing for the hospital that's closest to you, or a hospital that means something really important to you. Because again, all the money goes directly to the kids in that hospital. So, let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
For the kids.
So that was episode 43 of The Best Games Period, all about Dead Space. I will be posting a poll on Facebook and Twitter to find out what you all think of Dead Space. I did not post a poll last week because we covered the Nintendo Switch, so that's not a game. So you can't tell us if you think it's the best game period or not. Sorry.
Yeah, I like how you guys just made fun of my statement instead of answering my questions. Jeez.
It was a very
Daniel
funny
made fun
statement. It was hard not to. But if you haven't listened to that episode, I think it's a pretty good one. It's just Jack and I flying duo.
No, it was actually a really good episode.
Yep. But let us know what you think of Dead Space. Do you like Dead Space 2 better?
Yes.
Are you a
No.
pansy
I mean,
Ramsey
no.
like me? Or is Dead Space the true best game period? Or none of them? I don't know.
Truth be
You let
known,
us know.
if we talk about Dead Space 2, there's a good chance I would say that's the best games period as well. So.
Oh my goodness. But you can follow us on Twitter at bestgamesperiod. You can follow Jack at riverboatjack, Jeremy at mojomonkey12, me at indiejones84. You can find this show every Monday on iTunes and on Libsyn, our hosting site, as well as SoundCloud, if you prefer to listen on that. You can also occasionally find some activity on our YouTube channel. There's some cool stuff over there that Jack does a lot because he's super talented, and we appreciate him.
Also on Mondays, I hang out on the street corner and hand out copies of the show, so you can find them there.
You can also do that. You can find him in Montana doing that. Good luck.
At the
It's
one
a big
street
state.
light.
At the
Well,
one
I mean,
street
can you
light,
call it a light if it only blinks one way?
I mean, it blinks on and off, so it is a
So it
light,
blinks.
technically.
I mean, it's a light
Yeah.
depending on what direction you're coming from.
So is it a standalone light? Or is it hanging?
So-
like the
Or is
way
it just a hanging light bulb that blinks on and off?
Well, no, it's a hanging...
Is it like on a stand?
No, oh, God, no. It's on a wire. And
Okay, so it's on a wire.
And
How
it's-
is it not a four-way? Is it just a one-way stop?
No, it works as a four-way stop, but it's supposed to be understood because it only blinks on, like, two sides, right? Not four sides. So, basically, if you're going north and south, you're really confused. And you're just
Okay.
expected to stop. I mean, you're expected to stop no matter what direction you're coming from, but...
All right. I'm trying to end the show!
It's just too complicated.
Yeah.
You have to see it to believe it.
It's
Or
like
not.
a yield sign, more or less, for half the people.
At least it's not a rotary. I hate rotaries. They're the worst. So, you can also find the show on Game Informer and, as Jack mentioned, community.extra-life.org every Monday when we post it. And let us know what you think of the show on any of those venues. As well, if you would really be so inclined, you could leave us a review on iTunes. We would love you forever if you did that. It would maybe even butter our biscuits to bring back an oldie but a goodie. All right. All right. We got to wrap this up. Happy Halloween, everybody. We'll see you all on the flippity-dippity.
Trick or treat.
I want to suck your blood.
Well, I mean, how much money you got?
Look out! The last thing you remember before blacking out was a shadowy figure approaching in the road in front of you. You heard your sister cry out as you swerved the car into a tree. You now realize you are alone. Your sister must have gone for help. You pry yourself free of the steering wheel and step out, intent on finding your sister. You find yourself standing in front of an old mansion. It gives you the creeps. This mansion is cold and foreboding. You sense great evil within. Nearby you find a pendant. As you pick it up, it begins to sparkle. Then